Imagine finding a simple penny in your change and realizing it could be worth as much as $12,000. That is the incredible story behind the 1970 Lincoln penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but has shocked collectors and investors in the market. The worth of this coin today is not just a small gain, it is life-changing for some people, and its value has steadily risen in auctions and private sales. While most Lincoln pennies from 1970 are only worth their face value of 1 cent, certain rare versions, especially those struck at the Denver Mint, have sold for thousands of dollars depending on condition, rarity, and collector demand. Right now, examples in pristine uncirculated condition have fetched amounts up to $12,000, making this small copper piece one of the most desirable coins in circulation history. The story of the 1970 Lincoln penny begins in a unique time for American coinage. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins every year to meet the growing demand of the economy. The Denver Mint was one of the key facilities responsible for striking these pennies, and while most of them came out perfectly ordinary, a small number were minted with errors, unusual die varieties, or an exceptionally high quality. These rare details are what separate an ordinary penny worth just a cent from one that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for. The Lincoln penny itself carries the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. This design has become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. By 1970, the reverse of the penny still featured the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic design that symbolizes both history and American pride. The combination of historical design, minting quirks, and low survival of high-grade examples makes the 1970 penny so valuable today. Collectors especially look for coins with full, sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear. The higher the grade, the more impressive the price tag. While circulated versions may only bring a few dollars, those discovered in mint state or even red condition can climb into the thousands, with the record prices hitting that $12,000 mark. Auction houses have reported intense bidding wars over these coins, and experts predict their value will only continue to increase as more collectors try to complete their Lincoln penny sets. This coin is not just about money, it is about history. Each 1970 penny tells a story of American minting practices, the artistry of Lincoln's image, and the collector's passion to preserve small pieces of the past. Holding one in your hand means holding over 50 years of history and the chance of owning something far more valuable than its 1 cent face value suggests. So next time you look at your change, pay close attention to the dates and mint marks. You might just be holding a treasure worth up to $12,000 without even realizing it. A simple 1 cent coin from 1971 can actually be worth thousands of dollars if you were lucky enough to have the right one. The 1971 Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint, has been known to reach values as high as $3,400 in the collector's market. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary copper penny, but the condition, the rarity, and the demand among collectors can turn it into a serious treasure. While most people will only ever spend it as a cent, those who recognize its true potential know that this is not just small change, it is a piece of history worth real money. The background of the 1971 Lincoln penny traces back to an important time in American coinage. These coins were struck in the early 1970s when the United States Mint was still using a copper composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. The design featured the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, the same design first created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, which had been used since 1959. Over 1.9 billion of these pennies were minted in Denver in 1971, making them common in circulation, but not all coins survive in top condition. What makes a 1971 penny valuable is not the number produced, but the quality and rarity of certain examples. Coins that were struck with extra sharp details, coins preserved without wear, and coins that have remained in full red uncirculated condition are the ones collectors chase. Even though billions exist, only a small fraction remain in gem mint state, and it is those rare survivors that can reach prices of $3,400. Auction records show that collectors are willing to pay premium amounts when such a coin appears on the market. The bidding wars can drive the price up quickly, especially when the coin is graded by a professional service at the highest levels. As time passes and fewer high-quality examples remain, the value of these coins continues to grow. So the 1971 D Lincoln penny is more than just a piece of pocket change. It represents American history, the artistry of Lincoln's image, and the chance for an ordinary-looking coin to bring extraordinary value. That is why some examples today are valued at up to $30,400, proving once again that a careful eye on your change can turn 1 cent into a small fortune. Imagine holding a penny that looks like nothing more than an ordinary coin, yet it has the power to change your life. The 1980 D Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint, has reached astonishing values in the collector's market, with some rare examples selling for as much as $321,000. That is not a typing error. This 1 cent coin, under the right conditions, has brought in over $300,000, making it one of the most shocking finds in modern numismatics. At first glance, most 1980 D pennies are worth only face value, but certain coins have something special at heart. It might be a unique minting error, a rare die variety, or an example preserved in absolutely flawless condition. Collectors call these top-graded coins gem mint state or even proof-like in appearance, and when such a piece shows up at auction, the bidding can be fierce. The demand for rare Lincoln pennies is incredibly strong, and that is why this coin has been able to bring in prices that rival even some of the rarest gold coins. The story of the 1980 D penny begins in a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of coins every year. In fact, over 5.1 billion Lincoln pennies were struck at the Denver Mint in 1980, so the idea that one of them could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars may sound impossible. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity does not just mean how many were made. It also depends on how many survived in the absolute best quality, free from scratches, discoloration, or weak strikes. Those very few surviving examples in pristine red uncirculated condition are what command six-figure prices. The design itself is familiar, featuring the bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had already been in use since 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, which had been added in 1959. To most people, it is just a common penny, but to experts, it is a window into history and artistry. When combined with rarity and collector passion, it transforms into a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, the market value of the 1980 D Lincoln penny continues to impress. Circulated examples are worth just a cent. Uncirculated ones may bring a few dollars, but the rarest high-grade certified coins have reached that jaw-dropping figure of $321,000. For collectors, it's a dream find, and for anyone checking their change, is a reminder that even the smallest coin can hold an extraordinary fortune. A single penny from 1982 can actually be worth thousands of dollars, and the 1982 D Lincoln penny is proof of that. While it may look like an ordinary coin you'd find in your change, some rare examples have sold for as much as $8,700 in the collector's market. Imagine a coin with just a 1 cent face value turning into a small fortune simply because of its condition, its rarity, and the unique story behind it. The 1982 Lincoln penny is one of the most complicated years in all of American coinage history. That year, the United States Mint switched from making pennies out of 95% copper to a cheaper composition of copper-plated zinc. Because of this change, there were 7 different varieties struck in 1982, including small date and large date designs, in both copper and zinc compositions. The Denver Mint, where the D Mint Mark coins were made, produced billions of them, but only a handful of examples survive in pristine condition or with rare varieties that make them extremely valuable. Collectors prize these coins not just for their metal content, but for the challenge of completing all the 1982 varieties. Among them, the 1982 D pennies that are preserved in uncirculated red gem condition or struck with unusual die characteristics. That is how a coin from this year has reached a market value as high as $8,700 at auction. The design, of course, still carries Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, which had been used since 1959. It is a design every American has seen, but in the right condition from 1982, it becomes more than just a coin. It becomes a collectible treasure. Today, circulated 1982 D pennies are still common in pocket change and worth only face value. But if you happen to discover one in top grade, certified by a professional grading service, the value can skyrocket into the thousands. That is why the 1982D penny remains one of the most exciting finds for collectors, and why some examples have sold for up to $8,700. Next time you come across a 1982 penny, check it carefully. You might just be holding a piece of copper-plated history worth far more than a cent.